Steve Lacy, who plays the bassy, does other things than the bassy as well. He is a musician who has kind of strayed away quite a bit now from the Internet, who was the band that he was a part of. I mean, I think he's technically like still part of it. He's just kind of gone in a bit more of a solo direction, and it's left people a bit curious to see where he could go. He didn't necessarily get a great amount of acclaim from his last album, although it did get some Grammy recognition. Somehow, honestly, I'm not entirely sure how, he got a nomination for the album. It wasn't terrible. Some people out there were kind of really harsh on it. I thought it was pretty average. Didn't really think it played much to the strengths of what he could do. But, you know, it had a bit of a mixed response. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I didn't hate it. But I didn't think it was an album that was really worthy of any kind of nominations for any awards, to be honest. But it's not something I'm just going to, you know, throw to the side and think this guy is never going to make good music just because of that one thing. There is definitely potential for him to, you know, reach beyond what he was doing on that album. And I think he's starting to make way for that on this album here, Gemini Rights. I think this is a vast improvement, actually. On my first listen, I wasn't entirely sure how much it was an improvement, but the more I listened to it, I do think actually it's quite a bit better than what he gave us before. Even if it is just for that first half of this album, I feel like it is so strong that enough warrants it to be easily better than anything he's done solo before. Maybe even including some of what he's given us with the Internet, actually. I feel like he's done a really good job on this album to kind of start striking us as an artist that's in his own lane a little bit. I feel like the opening track sets that up nicely too, where he's talking about the girl who's making mistakes and is getting into a relationship to fill the void and taking K up her nose to fill the hole. I just like how he's casually singing these lines as if it just all doesn't really matter. The way he's kind of like doing this laid back, chill singing voice, it makes it all kind of quite deadpan. But it's a good track. Instrumentally, it doesn't have a lot going on, but once you get to Helmet, I feel like that's when the album starts giving you a bit more of the gooey, funky stuff, and it sounds nice. The idea of, you know, putting a helmet on your heart is quite cheesy, honestly. I feel like a boy band could have written that. Maybe there is a boy band out there that wrote that at some point. I could definitely see it. Maybe 5 Seconds of Summer would say some shit like that. I don't know, but it doesn't ruin the whole track. And again, I feel like his chilled back style vocally really works nicely and complements the instrumentals that he's singing over. You look no further than Mercury. This is probably one of the best tracks of combining his voice, his kind of sultry, smooth voice, with a kind of like more Latin flavored instrumental. The flair really comes through. It's sounding quite Latin. It sounds good. I quite like the refrain as well, where he keeps going, I don't know. I just like the way he says that. And yeah, the track itself just feels a bit more ambitious for Mr. Steve Lacy. He's giving us a little bit of something different, and it's working in his favor. It's catchy as hell. I feel like he's occupying a space in the world of sort of like neo soul, R&B, funky stuff right now that not many other people are really challenging him for at the moment. Not to say that he's the most unique artist of our time or anything like that, but when you hear a song like this, I can't quite think of another artist at the moment in this style, in this genre, that would make a song like this, and that's where I'm thinking Steve has the upper hand a little bit. Bad Habit is a bit different though, where this one is sounding quite a little bit, quite a lot actually, quite a real lot, like Rex Orange County. And it makes me wonder if Steve has the potential to kind of reach into that kind of audience with a song like this. This probably is my favorite track on the whole album, actually, which is strange considering I really didn't like the most recent Rex Orange County album. But Rex seems to have found his way onto so many Spotify playlists. You see him scrolling through TikTok on some kind of, you know, random video with that's one of his songs playing in the background. Like, he has tapped into an audience that is so surprising that I just find crazy. Like I don't know how or what exactly happened with Rex to get that kind of broad audience, but he's managed to do it. And honestly, Bad Habit is as good, if not better, as any other version of a Rex song out there. So look, this track right here, I have high hopes for it doing pretty well for Steve, and it should do well for him too, because even like the second half where it sort of like switches into a new vibe, it sounds great. Easily could find its way onto some Tyler album. I could definitely hear these two voices coming together, just as we saw on Flower Boy with Rex as well. It just pairs up really well. I feel like Steve has potential and has in the past worked with other hip-hop artists, but I feel like from this album he could really, you know, launchpad himself into more hip-hop artists' music, because I just feel like a track like this would combine so well with a rap feature or something like that, or a rapper and Steve is the feature. I could just see it. I like Amber too. I think it has a bit of a Raphael Sadiq flair to it, which is a big compliment for me, because I think Raphael Sadiq, his 2008 album particularly, is like one of the best soul albums of the past like 15-ish years or whatever. It's fantastic. So that is a high compliment from me. And I quite like how Steve slips into the more kind of soulful stuff while also bringing the catchy modern flair too. Just think this balance is working really well for him, which I just didn't really catch on to on his previous album. You've got the track Sunshine, which is just a perfect title for a song, because it's just one of those titles that describes exactly what the song is. The sun-kissed guitar that comes in towards the end is fantastic. We know Steve has quite the repertoire with instruments and how many different kind of things he can do with music in terms of production, what he can play and things like that. Again, playing to his strengths on this album. This album, tracks like this, are exactly what I thought Steve Lacy was going to become. And that lovely feature from Fauché, I'm not entirely sure how you say her name, she sounds gorgeous on this track, man. These two worlds collide, these two vocals collide so beautifully. There are some weaker moments, so I've got to admit. I mean, the tracks prior to Amber, the bloody Cody freestyle particularly, I think is a pretty big waste of time, honestly. Mostly because I don't know why Steve thinks he can just come out here and freestyle on us. He's not exactly the best lyricist out there. Even on the best tracks on this album, you know, he's not coming out with some crazy lyrics. He's kind of pretty standard, general. I don't want to say generic, but he, you know, doesn't really think outside the box with his words. And this just proves that even more. Don't depend on me, no. Unless you're swallowing, I could use your deep throat, or whatever the hell he says. What do you mean by that? Not doing too well for Steve's status, I don't think, lines like this. The track itself is fine, I guess, but nothing too special. It at least closes out, though, with a really strong track, which reminds me so much of Thundercat. I mean, this final track has so much Thundercat all over it. It's almost like you combine a Thundercat song with Childish Gambino's Redbone, and that's the song. It sounds really good. So yeah, I really like this. Yeah, I think if a few moments, you know, aren't as strong, not every track is as strong as the next, but overall this is good. I like this a lot. I think in terms of like a summery, vibey album, you kind of want to be checking this out, because this could be playlisting, you know, or soundtracking. Playlisting? Well, it could be on your playlist, but it could be soundtracking much of your summer. I think it's certainly worthy of that kind of title. And yeah, I like it. I'm going to go 7 out of 10. Definitely an improvement from what we've heard from him solo before, and I'm happy to see. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you as always. Tell me what you think. If you agree or disagree, tell me what I should review next. Have a good day, and then subscribe. Goodbye.